Hello, I'm Sue Gray, and 16 months ago I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, which obviously is incurable. And at the time I prayed to God that I would have the grace to accept whatever was in store for me. And He's given me a great sense of peace during this time, a great comfort to me, and it's been a great comfort knowing everyone's praying for me. But I have felt that peace and acceptance. Shortly after I was diagnosed, a friend talked me into going into a Thursday Girls, which is a support group for advanced breast cancer patients or people. And the first meeting I went to was really a bit of a shock. I was quite surprised, though I could understand it, the negativity that was in the group. A lot of the people were angry and bitter about their lot in life. They were seeing psychiatrists, psychologists, suffering from depression, anxiety. Some were barely coping, and some were doing okay like I was. But they were all quite surprised at how well I was coping, and this led to discussions about what it was that enabled me to cope, how I was coping and have such a positive attitude. And although a lot of them didn't understand Christianity or faith at all, it generated some interesting discussions. And one day after I'd had some particularly bad news at the oncologist a couple of days before, and I was sharing it with the group, there was a few tears and a few people were upset, and they kept saying, I can't understand why you're not angry. And I explained that this was just my faith that was getting me through this, that I had something to look forward to at the end of this journey. And it was very hard for them to accept and understand. And later that afternoon, one of the girls rang me and she said, can I read you something and ask you to explain it to me? And of course, being a nurse, I was thinking, oh yeah, she's got a medical question for me. But it wasn't. She'd been going through her uncle's room who'd passed away recently and was cleaning it up, and she found this little card, and I'll just hold it up and show you. And it's back to front, I've just realised on the camera. But she said, can you explain it to me? And she read it out to me, and it was from Ephesians 2:8. It is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this not from yourselves, it is a gift of God. And she asked me if this was where I got my faith from. Is this what faith meant to me? And we had a long discussion about that. We were on the phone for about half an hour, and it was really good for me to share that with her and for her to understand it. And she surprised me. She said, I'm incredibly Italian and I'm incredibly Catholic. And she said, I've never heard that verse before. I'm surprised you know about it. And I explained that that was the basis of my faith and the Christian faith. And she said, I'm going to have to look into that a bit more. So I suggested she do some more reading around that verse. Haven't had the chance to speak to her yet, but that was really encouraging that was the thing that she thought of. Well, I was the person she thought of when she found that verse. And it was a great privilege to be able to share with her about that. And she's since mailed it to me because she felt that it belonged to me. So that was really exciting and encouraging for me because I'm not really very good at sharing my faith, but it was an opportunity too good to miss, really, and a God-given opportunity. And then just for another little quick story, we had the palliative care people come last week to work out some of my future plans and care plans. And Marianne said to me, I'll pray that you find someone that you can react with really well and interact with. And I said, oh, they're all really great people. I wasn't really concerned about it, but she said, yeah, I'll pray anyway. And I was very grateful for that prayer. Anyway, the lady turned up, the nurse comes, and she came in and she started to talk about sailing because they sail and they'd seen the boat in our front yard. And that immediately engaged Lloyd and Christopher. Christopher's our son, for those who don't know. And we had a bit of a conversation, a bit of an icebreaker, and then we got down to the business of planning. And then as she was leaving, she walked out our front door and she saw the Nepalese prayer flags I've got draped across the door frame. And she said to me, oh, have you been to Nepal? And I said, yes, I have. And she said, oh, did you do some trekking? And we talked about treks that we'd both done. She said she'd been there. And I said, I also worked there as a volunteer on surgical teams. And it turned out that she was working there with United Missions as a nurse. Her husband was there as an engineer working on hydroelectric plants. And electricity has been Lloyd's game all his working life. So there were just so many things that we had in common. It was just amazing. And obviously a God-given opportunity. I was very, very grateful to have someone that had so many compatibilities with. So I hope that this encourages you to pray because God answers prayer. We know that. And, I just hope it encourages you. And just to close off with, I'd like to give you my favourite verse, Micah 6:8. Act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with God. Have a good week.